rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag behind us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is our mission statement. Tracy?
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community. Jessica? Here. Sue? Here. Chris? Here. Margaret?
Here.
Kyle?
Here.
Sarah? Here. We are all here.
Fabulous. Next, motion would be in order to approve the agenda as presented.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, our consent agenda. A motion would be in order to approve.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the consent agenda as presented in the attached documentation.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Brian?
I just want to make sure on the board you have an updated, we had a change today, so you'll see one that's in red and green on the revised. We had a resignation last Friday, Eric Boyd, the online and alternative education person at the high school. He will be greatly missed as he developed a lot of relationships with the kids and kept a lot of our students finishing
On
the
track.
coursework on track. We have several new hires. Some of them were able to be here tonight and some weren't, so I'll start with the ones that were not able to be here. Michael McAllister, a bus driver. We have Renee Brybrandt Amthor. She is currently an IAM teacher, but we have a student that attends here that is receiving homebound instruction. She has a relationship with the student in terms of working with them. So we will be contracting her for the homebound instruction we have to provide for the student. Nicole Schaefer, bus driver. And some of our new hires that are here, Krista McLeod. I knew I was going to do that. She will be at the middle
Stand
school.
up, yeah.
So welcome. We have Kathleen Moon. She is a speech and language therapist. She'll be primarily here at the elementary school and the private schools, non-public? One non-public school.
Very good. Welcome.
And we have Amanda Spizak. She is the payroll and benefits coordinator. Michelle took a new position in another district, so she will be coming to us a lot in July. Can't wait till she gets on board full time, so I'm going to ask her a lot of questions. She currently does the payroll for the Lions, so I have a lot of questions I'm just curious about. I don't know if she'll be able to answer them, but we look forward to her joining the team and so forth. And finally, the last one, which was she just accepted the position today, Darlene McNichols, the secretary at the high school. She currently does a lot with the athletic booster program. So she's a Richmond grad. So we look forward to her joining. I'm sure Mr. Castle and Mrs. Warwick look forward to her joining the team over there as they've been down a player. So
That's excellent.
those are our new hires.
Good. Welcome, everyone. Okay, it has been moved and supported, and we've had discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the portion of our meeting for public comment. If anyone in the audience would like to address the board, you may do so. Right here is our podium. You can come up to the podium. There should be a card that you can leave your name and phone number. It's not a question and answer period, but if you do have a question that needs to be answered, someone will get back to you. You have 3 minutes to speak. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? No. Okay. Moving on. Board of Education Student Representative Report. I'd like to recognize for her first official meeting all by herself, Lexi Rajewski, who's our new student board rep. Welcome, and you're on.
All right, well, I don't have that much to report since school hasn't started yet, but I can say that this week is Blue Devil Day for all the schools. The Lee School will hold theirs from Wednesday from 5 to 8. The middle schools is from Tuesday 5 to 8, and the high schools was tonight from 5 to 8. And I previously was at the high schools, and I could definitely tell that it was going smoothly. It was really cool. And at the Blue Devil Day, the students can get their photo taken, they get their schedules, and they can meet their teachers and see where all their classes are. And I really only have specifics for the middle school. Next week, the RMS will hold their annual boot camp, and this will give students the must-know information for the upcoming school year. When they go to the boot camp, they learn things like what Shine is, and how to work their new computers, and basically just how to adjust to moving from the elementary school to the middle school. And lastly, at the middle school, the web leaders are looking forward to working with the incoming 5th graders in their first week orientation. That's really all I have to report.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, superintendent and legislative update.
I want to do a quick follow-up for one of the parents who came to the podium at the last board meeting regarding the laptops, and I just want to do some clarification. We do send out to parents a laptop checklist of damage that's been done to the laptop. And I just want to preference that the district for the last couple of years, it's similar to a textbook. We expect things are going to happen to the laptops. I mean, they're used and moved and carried, and that's why we keep encouraging kids to keep them in the cases to protect them as much as possible. But things happen. And so what we do is we identify because it's signed out to the student, things that would need to be repaired. Same thing if they broke a cover on a book or a spleen on the binding of a book, we would invoice or bill the parent. One of the statements that the gentleman made was that we sent the same picture to parents for the different. Well, that is not true. And I brought 2 examples. There is a process that they go at the end of the year to check in laptops, and these are 2 examples of, when you're taking pictures of these laptops, they have the same issue. The corner is broken off. So when you're taking pictures of this laptop on a table like this, and you put the next step on the table, it's going to look identical because they're the same type of laptop and it's the same issue. But we don't just take one picture and send it to the families and say, you owe this, and it's the same picture. It's for that student's laptop. Some of the stuff we look at, does it need to be repaired? Is it hinging or prohibiting the student from using the laptop? And if it's not, we hold off, because these laptops have a life expectancy of about 4 years, maybe 5 years, with technology. As a district, we pay the first deductible. We pay the first $50 of all repairs, regardless of whether they have insurance or not. We encourage families to get the insurance because you drop the laptop in a tub of water. Why would you have a laptop over a tub of water? But it does happen. It can be pretty expensive, and the insurance is it's about $20 that you pay for the insurance, and you'd only pay the deductible. And if it's the first instance, the district pays the deductible, so the parent really isn't out anything. So I just wanted to clarify, because the staff that take care of, that's the media specialists in the building, both Eric and Harold with the IT department, they spend a lot of time, a lot of hours coordinating, making sure students have the laptop, making sure that they have a laptop checked out to them. We've been accommodating to families that parents don't want the laptop. So working as a team with the principals and the parent, we have kids that just sign them out daily. We have kids that just keep them in their lockers. We want to make sure that they're utilizing the technology, because there's a lot of resources out there, and that no child will ever be denied access to our curriculum. But I just wanted to clarify, because some of the statements that were stated called into question the integrity of some of our staff members, and I just, the more I thought about it, I was somewhat offended, because we have some of the best staff, if not the best staff in this state, and they take pride in what they do. And I have yet to find any staff member who is trying to take advantage of a family. They want to look out for the best interest of the child and the family. So with that, we did the clarification. I did talk to the gentleman on the phone at length, and I'll be talking with Mr. Castle at the high school, and I think it's Mr. Kosher last year. So we'll put a plan together to make sure that the child has access when they need the computer. But I committed to him. Our long-term goal as a district, with the Wi-Fi changes and the policy, is to get to a point where students have the ability to bring their own technology in, so they're not relying. So if they're more comfortable with their own laptop, but there are some pieces that have to be put in place. For instance, upgrading the Wi-Fi, to make sure when they connect to the Wi-Fi that they're protected by our filters and so forth, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't want kids to have access to. It's not appropriate in an educational setting. So, with that, I thought the conversation was positive. I mean, I thought we're not on the same page yet, but we will get there and continue working. As Lexi said, we have Blue Devil Days this week. Today was the high school. Mr. Castle and Mrs. Bulwark, as the newbies at the high school, did an outstanding job. Their staff, this was their first day back. I thought they did an outstanding job. It would have been better if it was a little cooler, the weather, but so forth. Tomorrow's middle school and elementary will be on Thursday. Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, excuse me, elementary on Wednesday. All of our staff, we have the Richmond Police Department, Chief Teskey, Jeff White from the EMS, and the Assistant Fire Chief, Curtis.
Is it Kurt Spence?
Spence, thank you. Was at the high school today, and they'll be at the middle school and elementary school, where they did a lot of active shooter training with the staff on how to respond, some ALICE training and strategies. The high school staff, is on board in terms of perspective of our crisis management plan gives us guides, but nobody can prepare for the situation. God forbid it ever happened, but it got us some talking and some dialogue that we're going to bring to the next level. Our next phase is going to be when I meet with the administrative team after the start of the school year, the conversation with students and the age-appropriate conversation with students, so that they are at least prepared of what to do. And Chief Teskey did an outstanding job. He showed several scenarios. We heard the 911 call from Columbine. We actually heard pieces of various school shooting, which really it's hard to hear and listen to because you know what happened. But the reality is you never can prepare enough for it. And there was one map that I found astonishing. It was a picture of the United States, and it showed basically a dot where every school shooting has taken place. Not only school shootings, but they classified a group called Commerce. There's actually more in the private sector that happens than in school settings, which I did not realize because it doesn't really typically make the news as much. But there's no state that hasn't been touched by a school assailant. So I think it's a good first step, and it was a commitment that I made to the board, I believe, last year as we began this process. I thought it was well received by the high school. There's a little different conversation we have with the high school and with the students, obviously from the elementary level. We don't want to scare them and put fear into them, and so forth. So it went very well. I do want to point out to the audience that the first full week of school, we have been promoting the OK to Safe program statewide. We have several presentations. On September 10th, we have the middle school presentations during the day regarding the if you see something or hear something, say something, that OK to Say program. There's a parent presentation on Wednesday night, September 12th, as well as high school presentations during the day on the 12th. We will be promoting that as the first week of school comes, because a lot of what we hear or what schools have been able to be proactive about is someone has said something, someone's seen something on social media, and it's been able to get the police involved and stop something. So we were promoting that last year, but we've been promoting it for several years, but we're going to really do a better job this year in focusing. So from the legislative front, it's been pretty quiet, which is good. They're all campaigning for the November election. And lastly, I want to give a shout out and kudos to Mr. Estrada, our food service director, and all the food and nutrition personnel for the last 9 weeks. They're actually 10 weeks. They've been running a summer food program. This was our first year that we qualified, and jumping in feet first, not really knowing what to expect and so forth. We got our audit, and it was a glowing audit. There was not one finding they found, everything that we've done. We anticipate that program to actually have made the district a revenue for the food service account for the first year.
That's
Our
great.
intent was not this year to make it was a break even for this year to see as we figured out what we had to do and run the program. Our intent is to continue running it each year that we qualify. So with that, that's all I have.
Just about that real quick, I was hearing that like average was about 80 kids that were fed?
There, when you add the two sites together, we averaged about 80 kids a day that we fed for breakfast, primarily for lunch. We had many families that just came to the park that were there and they had breakfast.
Right.
We had the police officers, they stopped in and they paid their $1 for breakfast and could eat breakfast too. So
That's awesome.
it was a good first year program. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Next is items of interest from members of the board. Does anybody have anything? I just want to add that, yes, I went to the Blue Devil Days at the high school today, and all three of the administrators did a good job. Kids looked to be excited, especially, well, the freshmen look like deer in the headlight, but that's how they're supposed to look, right? But I think it went well, and kudos to all of them and the building looks great too. So, okay, next. I'll put my glasses on for this. Next, looking for motion to go into closed session for the purposes of negotiations. And there's a sample resolution.
Pursuant to Section 15.2688C of Michigan Open Meetings Act, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of negotiation.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are going to just step across the hall and we will be back. Okay, we are back, 8:09 in open session. And we're moving on to action items. Approval of walk-in freezer at Will L. Lee. Brian?
As the backup suggests, we currently have just a reach-in freezer at Lee with the capacity of the number of programs that we now service over here, from Head Start, GSRP, to our normal K-4 program, as well as the summer. The need to have a larger freezer to store the stuff that we can buy through commodities from the federal government at a very reduced rate, because we can only buy those during the school year. We can't buy during the summer commodities. So we received quotes as part of board policy. You'll see the three vendors: Gold Star, Stafford Smith, and Great Lakes Hotel Supply Company. Consulting with the ISD, Carolyn Thomas, as well as some of the other consultants. All of these are very reputable companies. The product is either one you go with, you're going to have a great a quality freezer. So we're recommending going with Great Lakes Hotel Supply Company. The freezer would be put in the storage room off the middle school, so we basically have a freezer and chairs in there at Lee.
A motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the purchase of a walk-in freezer for Will L. Lee Elementary School for a total not to exceed $17,707 plus 10% for site conditions from Great Lakes Hotel Supply Company, for which funding is authorized from the Food Service Fund as presented in the attached documentation.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
So you said it's going where? Where's
Uh,
it going?
There's a storage room in the cafeteria part of Lee that's right next door to the food service serving line,
Oh, got it.
where we store the chairs.
Yeah,
There's some other stuff in there, so I'm going to have to get with Mr. Koshin. We'll have to relocate some stuff, but it's basically a 9 by 9 by, I think, 11 feet freezer that you walk in. It
Got
would
it.
sit in the back corner. ABM, which are custodial contract, I forgot to mention that, would do the electrical. So the only thing we'd have to pay for is supplies on the electrical.
Oh,
We already
that's
have
awesome.
the manpower on site.
Anybody else? Okay, it has been moved and supported. I will do a roll call. Kyle.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Jessica.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Next, approval of the master agreement between Richmond Community Schools Board of Education and the Richmond Food Service employees.
The food service employee bargaining unit contract expired June 30th. In the backup, you'll see a summary of the proposals for the contract settlement. The contract is a 3-year contract expiring June 30th, 2021.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the master agreement between Richmond Community Schools Board of Education and the Richmond Food Service employees through June 30th, 2021, as presented in the attached documentation.
Support.
Chris? It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call. Sarah? Chris?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Jessica?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Next, approval of an amendment and extension of the master agreement between Richmond Community Schools Board of Education and Secretarial Unit Teamster State, County, and Municipal Workers Local 214.
In your backup, you'll see the district approached the Secretarial about opening their contract and revising it for the 18-19 school year, as well as doing a 1-year extension on their contract. So their contract would now be set to expire June 30th, 2020.
A motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve an amendment and extension of the master agreement between Richmond Community Schools Board of Education and Secretarial Unit, Teamster State, County, and Municipal Workers Local 214 through June 30, 2020, as presented in the attached documentation.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call. Tracy?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Sarah? Sue?
Aye.
Jessica?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. And that is all. We are adjourned at 8:14.